We have risen from the ashes to school the masses. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Scholars of Wrestling Show, episode 531. I'm your man behind the microphone, Scholar Jeff. Joining us this week, as always, the OG Undisputed Scholar himself. He is Scholar Tarek. Scholar Tarek, how you feeling tonight, sir?
I feel like absolute garbage. I am now picking up the sickness that my wife and kids had this past week, but that's not stopping me from joining the show tonight to talk about John Cena tapping out like a little bitch.
Oh, believe me, I am right there with you. I am just getting through the south end of my bout, so originally I was going to rest up, but the week happened the way the week happened, and if I'm able to do it, we got a lot to talk about. And we'll get into all of that in a moment, but also joining us this week, as always, you know him, you love him. He's got a lovely collection of neck pillows. He is the one and only Scholar Pete. Scholar Pete, how we feeling and how we respirating tonight?
As I live and breathe.
Holy
Gentlemen,
shit, he really does have a neck a
let
neck
me tell
pillow.
you something, gentlemen. I'm wearing this because I don't know if you know this, Scholar fans. I was taken off last week of the show because Scholar Charlie attacked me from behind and made me miss the show. So, ladies and gentlemen, when next time you see him, I need you to drop in the comments about how he injured your boy. So right now, I have come back because I am here for you, the people, while I am suffering to talk to you about John Cena and his doing right by tapping out like a little bitch. Back to you, Jeffrey.
Does Charlie know that he attacked you from behind?
No, it's the best thing ever.
Clearly,
Oh,
it was the aliens and or the
it,
CIA
it
using
was
that
the
mind
aliens.
control.
Now we're just gonna, because the question is whether or not he actually watches this episode this week. He'll come back next week and we'll just talk about how dare you attack Pete from behind and having him have that neck brace, and he'll just be so fucking confused.
I let me tell you, I was gonna do Scholar Brian, but I'm like, nope, Scholar Brian knows his shit. And I was like, you know who won't is Scholar Charlie. And next week, when hopefully this man returns and I have my neck brace slash pillowcase neck brace, and for you, the fans, we are gonna show how much that he is. But no, it's gonna be a great time. It's gonna be a great time. My neck will be in full support.
It looks
I'll tell you.
comfy.
Oh, it's so comfy.
I'll tell you what, I'm not a big fan of the whole lying thing, but I am a big fan of the whole trolling Charlie thing. So I am in full agreement with this little shenanigan. But until we get to the end results of that, we got some real life shenanigans to talk about because, like we talked about, this is a busy time of year. We're all finishing up some busy work weeks or are currently battling illnesses or are just coming out of some or other crazy life stuff this time of year. So originally, we were going back and forth on, okay, maybe we won't even be able to record this week. And then Saturday night's main event happened. And oh boy, I think a lot of us were expecting that result. It was all what we predicted. But what I, for one, didn't expect was just the sheer extent of the rage, the anger, the heat, and above all else, the confusion. Like, it seems like so many people not just didn't like the result, but it's like they didn't even understand what it was they were seeing before their very eyes.
So
So,
essentially, this episode is basically the Scholars of Wrestling declaring war on the internet wrestling community.
no, we are being good scholars for a change, and we will gently but firmly do our jobs as scholars, keyword scholars of wrestling, and we are going to break it down in exhaustive detail, all of the most common questions, objections, and everything that we've been seeing over the past several days in response to John Cena's final match and everything else surrounding it. Because we are scholars of wrestling, and that's what we do, and we are about to school you. So let's get right into it. First off, let's do a general recap of the what we ended up seeing. Of course, the main event of the show, the match in question, Gunther versus John Cena. We got, which I thought in a vacuum was a very good match. We've got John Cena in prime Super Cena mode, AAs, five knuckle shuffles, coming back, kicking out of submission holds. But Gunther just coming back time and time again, the unrelenting force of nature that he is. Drop kick after hammer blow after hammer blow after sleeper hold after sleeper hold after sleeper hold, escape, sleeper hold, until eventually John Cena could just, as he could not Super Cena anymore. And while he kept fighting with everything that he had, eventually realized the truth that victory was out of his grasp, and he calmly accepted his fate. He knew with a satisfied face that he knew he had fought with everything he had, and it was not a matter of giving up, because he didn't give up. He simply accepted his fate, accepted that he fought with everything they had, that he could leave behind a legacy and a career well wrestled. So he did the only thing he reasonably could do, accepted. He did not give up, he accepted. And because it seemed like the fan base did not get the outcome that they thought they desired, the boos rained down like snow. And we have the results and the reactions that we all saw this past week. Gentlemen, your initial thoughts, the floor is yours.
Of just the match or the reaction or both?
Yes, initial reactions, and then we'll break down the individual claims, questions, all of that.
What I really liked about the main event is it was basically just a well-paced match, blending in with the typical John Cena match that we've gotten so many times throughout the years, but like with Gunther starting off on a dominant way, John Cena fighting back, uh, leading to the outside, uh, Gunther preparing to powerbomb him through the announce table, John Cena counter that and doing AA into the announce table. Uh, John Cena hitting a super attitude adjustment off the top of the on the top turnbuckle, which a big highlight is that of that moment was Gunther having the big smile on his face, just breaking character for just that big second, going, "Oh, I'm enjoying this. I'm actually having a good time." Wrestling someone like John Cena. But yeah, once the sleeper hold started kicking in, they had John Cena fighting with all his might, hitting another attitude adjustment, uh, trying to fight his way out, and yeah, all leading into, as you put it, fool, just accepting his fate and went in and tapped out. Overall, for I think it was like between 20 25 minutes, they told a really good story in the ring. It made both guys looked really good, and it did what they were trying to do was put some major heat and momentum on Gunther, which was something that he needed. And the one aspect of people responding how they did was, I mean, no matter what, if the result was John Cena losing, they were hell. They even had the sign: "If John Cena loses, we riot." We were going to get it no matter how the outcome. It just was now, in their opinion, worse because he went and tapped out. But I even said it last week when we were doing the prediction of it. I said you have Gunther declare he was going to make him tap out. Unless John Cena was winning, that's the only way for Gunther to win because we don't want him to basically have a broken promise. He pretty much did his own version of the Paul Heyman. That's not a prediction; it's a spoiler. Yeah, I'm going to make him quit or make him give up. And yeah, it's the only real logical way to go. And people can just analyze or they can let their emotions be a factor on just, oh no, I saw my childhood hero uh, tap out, give up, whatever. But, and oh, Gunther shouldn't be. Why did it have to be Gunther? He shouldn't be in here. What does Gunther gain in all of this? And I think that's the one real uh, factor is Gunther's already an established name. He doesn't need this win. And I 150% disagree on that take.
I was going to
Not just be,
say, which of
not just
those questions do you want to answer first?
well,
What?
for me, it's the question is what does Gunther gain in all of this? But or he didn't need the rub. But I just feel like honestly, he did need that. What more can he gain? The way I look at it is it ascended Gunther to a level where he was no longer in like how I look at the world title picture. How each title is pretty much showing where their pecking order is in the WWE totem pole. And like there's the Intercontinental title, United States title area up above that, Intercontinental. And then as much as they want to tell you that the world titles are on the same level, that's not the case. It's the World Heavyweight Championship and the WWE undisputed. Yeah, you know what? I'm not going to call it that. The WWE Championship, because that championship is disputed because you have the world title, even though it's pretty much like the secondary. But that.
I hear you.
But but with how I looked at it, because he beat John Cena, John Cena clean. And now that he has this great nuclear heat on him, which is not like it's not like typical uh, fans showing, oh, we don't like you, go away heat. This is now you're the top heel of the story, so we're going to boo you, which is something that's I'm glad it's like that. It's not go away heat, even though there are some just completely mind numb fans out there who say Gunther is boring and oh he doesn't do that, but screw those people. I look at this when he was in that level of like the world heavyweight championship. And I look at now him beating John Cena. He's now risen up to the level where he can be in like the same ring with your Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, uh, even though he's the world heavyweight champion, CM Punk, pretty much pretty much the level of the four guys who are on this year's WrestleMania poster because those four are the top guys who are in the level that can go basically for either world championship and actually mean it. Same thing with someone like I guess you could put Seth Rollins and AJ Styles on that level as well that they can go for either world title like their ceiling is not just, oh, now they're only at the World Heavyweight Championship for someone, let's say, Braun Breaker, or as much as I kind of don't want to admit it, Logan Paul or Bronson, pretty much the Vision in the current iteration of the Vision in general. They're at that point where they're just World Heavyweight Championship and they can continue rising to go to WWE Championship levels. Gunther beating John Cena is now ascended into that level where he can be with the Romans, the Codys, the Punks, the Rollins, the Styles, and where it actually, makes sense. Now as much as people don't want to admit it, he is now the top heel of the of WWE right now for what he did. And if WWE, if the creative team, Triple H and Bruce Pritchard and all of them, if they're smart, they would want to keep this momentum going. And with what they're planning on going with, like facing Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, um, or at least retiring Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam, uh, probably even having their first match at WrestleMania, and the possibility of retiring AJ Styles. Gunther is just, he is at that point where, yeah, as much as there are some fans who don't want to admit it and still just call him mid and boring, he's now in the class with the top stars.
And yeah, that was a bit more of a complete answer that as any I could ever expect. And that's the reason why, like, whenever say, oh, Gunther didn't need it, really, he didn't need it only in the way that they're thinking, in which, okay, he didn't need it to make himself a established name, because as they noted, he already is an established name, but that also wasn't the end goal here. For instance, of all the names that you just laid out, Tarek, how many of those big names are faces? If they're going to be taking out one, if they're going to be permanently losing one of their biggest faces that they have access to, then they're going to need an equally big force to replace him with.
I would
Now, I'm not,
say probably three: Punk, Rhodes, and I actually forgot to mention
I would even
Cody.
throw,
Oh, actually four
I would even
with
throw
AJ Styles.
Roman right now. He's not even a
Oh,
that
five.
exactly. So they're going
He's
to
right.
need some sort of big monster that must be conquered, and then whoever beats Gunther after retiring two of the all-time legends, arguably more by the time he eventually gets taken down, whoever takes him out is going to be a big damn hero. We know this because that's more or less what already happened to Cody Rhodes beating Roman Reigns. I was there in the arena. We all wanted it. And when we got it, it was like crowning a new king. That is exactly why it went to Gunther, because Gunther, at least in the eyes of the company, has proven himself to be a reliable asset time and time again. And just because you consider him boring, no. He is cold, he is ruthless, he is efficient, he is not colorful like John Cena. I believe that even the call that they made on commentary, professional wrestling has defeated sports entertainment. Whoever eventually beats Gunther, he is going to be a new top star. That's it. And that's why they picked that's why Gunther didn't need it, because Gunther factually did not need it. But the company, WWE, needed Gunther to need it. They needed Gunther to have it more than Gunther actually needed it himself. Does that make sense?
It does, and I feel like it would basically be a start of backtracking if like he's at that level, but I feel like he actually still needs to beat these big names to in order to be taken seriously. Like he needs to, and not in like the cheating aspect, because that's not Gunther's style as much. I still look at that Wade Barrett commentary and when he had that match with Solo in the tournament, in the last time is now tournament of them. Oh, they both cheat. And I'm just going, if you actually look back on Gunther's career, he only like at least on the main roster because I don't because I didn't watch NXT UK as much, but even the ones I have seen, I would say 9 times out of 10, he would win his matches clean, clean as a whistle. The only real time I ever really saw him cheat, I think it was just one time when in his first world title run and one would during his Intercontinental title reign when he faced Sheamus on SmackDown. I think those are the only real times he actually cheated to win. Other than that, he wins his matches clean as a whistle, and that's what actually makes him such a great heel. Um, I think with like I look back on Gunther's career, and his right now his biggest foil is that he hasn't defeated Cody Rhodes yet. They were the last two of Royal Rumble. I think it was for WrestleMania 39 when they fought in the Rumble. They were the last two, and Cody beat him. And then they had the World Championship versus WWE Champion at Crown Jewel, and Cody beat him there. So right now, the only real achievement Gunther really needs is to actually beat Cody. And in my opinion, I think he needs to beat Roman as well, just to really establish that he is now the top heel of the company.
And they certainly have a lot of ways to make their way to do that between Royal Rumble time, WrestleMania, basically the rest of the year 2026. There's lots of ways you can apply Gunther now. But before we continue on, Pete, any reactions to anything we've been talking about or any of the complaints you've been seeing about the whole John Cena results so far? Any answers to the anger or vitriol you've been seeing?
Well, let's start off by saying that this match with Gunther and John Cena was the longest Saturday Night Main Event match in the history of Saturday Night Main Event. So it's a fun fact for all you fans out there. And let's
Is
talk.
it?
You guys been talking about the match a lot, so let's talk about maybe a little bit of the pre-match when he's going up and seeing Trish Stratus. He's seeing Kurt Angle. He's seeing Booker T, and somehow Elias gets in there, and then you
Hey, I
see,
was just happy to see him.
and then you
Bank
see
error in
them.
my favor. I don't care.
Listen, hey, whatever floats your boat. But then you got Kevin Owens. You have
Kevin,
that great moment where people are like, "Man, what if only?" Because you know that would have been a nice marquee match. But as a whole, with the reaction, watching the match, I was talking to my girl at the time, and I was saying that we were watching this match, and she's like, "Well, what's gonna happen?" I said, "Realistically," I said, "John Cena needs to tap out." I said, "That's the only way this works. You pass the torch. You look up looking at the lights." I said, "The problem is the man's not going to tap out because he has a monocle of never giving up, never surrendering. But shout out to little Dom Mysterio for getting the last pinfall victory on John Cena. You all know that. But for him watching this match and just seeing the sleeper holds apply and then going back and then going back and then Cena losing his, and then it's just like, wait a minute, is this how it's? No, this is not. And to see the smile and the little tap out, the saying like, you know what, I'm not giving up, I'm letting go. I'm letting go of this character that you've been with since early in the ruthless aggression era, and you have this character who hasn't tapped out in 20 years to have this big marquee professional wrestler, again, not sports entertainer, a professional wrestler who just makes anybody look good. He could make Goldberg in his retirement match look somewhat decent. Like the man is just the future. And it's like you both scholars said, it's you need this superhero type new face. And you know what the fact of the matter is? Gunther is a young guy moving on up, and it's time that he takes out a Roman Reigns. He takes out that Cody Rhodes. So he'll retire Brock Lesnar. He retires AJ so he could be like, he's the next big thing. So what WWE can do is then take their new Stone Cold, their new Hulk Hogan, their new The Rock, the new John Cena. They make the new blah blah to be their face after Cody sends his lights out and bows his boots out. But at the end of the day, with Gunther and just what they're doing, and even the interactions we saw on this past Monday with the "you can see me" and just literally feeding into the hate, with the reactions of these wrestling fans being like, "Oh, we need Super Cena. If there was ever a time we saw Super Cena, it should have been his last match." It's like, no. The reality is Gunther is the future of the business. He works with everybody. His promos are solid. There is no fat on this man. Like, he is the embodiment of a professional wrestler. And to give him the accolade of making John Cena, Mr. Never Give Up, the tap out, what more higher praise can you get? I mean, it you couldn't pin the man. You had to make him tap. And it was a beautiful moment that I think wrestling fans are just overreacting because it's them going, fuck you, Triple H. When at the end of the day, like, Shawn Michaels loses his last match. These wrestlers lose. Ric Flair lost his last match. Like, except if your name is Sting, you're going to lose your last match and look up to light. And like I said, for John,
It's the example that proves the rule. It's the exception that proves the rule, rather.
but for John Cena to also give back and give Gunther that right, and again have the longest Saturday Night Main Event, to have the promo and then just the heat off of it. It was a it was a great overall moment. Was it the moment everybody wanted? No, but it made you tune in for the next day to see where the next Monday night on Raw to see what Gunther had to say. And he goes, "I made him tap out like a bitch." It's like, fuck yeah, you did, Gunther.
And you know what? That's what brings up another point that I kept seeing around once or twice. Like, oh, why was Triple H smiling so broadly at the end of the night when hugging John Cena? Like, because he got everything he wanted and then some. That the reactions, the heat, they knew they had just made a supervillain in Gunther. So that's why everyone, including Gunther, Triple H, everyone was all smiles because their plan had worked to perfection. That response that you heard from what seemed like everyone in the arena, buddy, you just you just proved them right with your rage. That is exactly what they wanted. I think we all saw the clip of the little Cena kid screaming at Gunther from ringside after the
It was
match.
hilarious.
And you just
Wasn't it
see,
before Cena came out?
oh no, it was after the match.
Oh, okay.
It was after the match. This little kid was screaming at Gunther, like, what, you gotta take my hat, hit my hat or something? And Gunther's like, no, I'm civilized. You're not. And you just see Wade Barrett in the background, just like laughing his ass off at this. Like, it's pure classic wrestling psychology. So much about this match and the reaction was just as classic and timeless old school wrestling as it gets. And sometimes that the simplest and most straightforward things are the most effective, which is what brings me back to another thing that I heard from a couple of critics, including like Ariel Helwani, who have been like, oh, they keep using the phrase time honored tradition. Like, it's not the 1980s anymore. You don't have to just go along with traditions. Buddy, in this particular case, ordinarily, I'd agree with that sentiment, but some traditions exist for a reason. Not all traditions are empty traditions. In this case, the time honored tradition in wrestling of the retiree going out with a loss is, in this case, for a very specific practical purpose, which is making a new megastar. Not just making him an established name, but making him a megastar that can be subsequently turned into a super opponent for your myriad of faces. How do I know this? Well, look at everything else we saw on stat episodes of Saturday Night's Main Event. What the theme of the entire show, not just that one match, but the entire show as a whole, was to showcase future superstars. Obafemi looked like an absolute beast working with Cody Rhodes, and he got his hand raised by Cody Rhodes after the match. That kind of indicates to me that he's a super face in the future on the main roster. We also saw Sol Ruka getting a victory over Bailey. That's huge. You got Javon Evans showing up and showing out. You got Joe Hendry making an appearance and doing a funny comedy bit with R-Truth and The Miz. Like, the entire show was based around not only just showing off the new generation, but showing the rest of the fan base that, yeah, the wrestling world is going to continue without John Cena and the future is looking bright. It's like the rest of the show was to put your mind at ease to see that, yeah, there's still going to be plenty to see and plenty to get excited about in the future. And then it'll soften the blow, theoretically anyway, for the eventual and necessary John Cena loss. Does that make sense?
It does. And I will just keep adding, I'll add on to that is it's not like John Cena, yeah, John Cena's retiring from wrestling. That doesn't mean we're never going to see him again on WWE television. Like I see some of these people like having complete breakdowns and crying. It's like I get it. It's sad to see someone who was your hero as a child finally put his take off his boots and armbands and leave him in the ring.
But not the jorts, though. A lot of
As
people were
much
crying for oh yeah,
Yo,
take off,
everybody was
leave your
crying for the
jorts in the
Jordans.
ring. Like, he's not going to do that.
he should have though. But that's
Just walk out of the ring in his tighty whities and is like, okay, see ya.
Gets to the top of the ropes and or top of the ramp, and he's just like, "Go
Salute,
Commando!"
saluting the crowd in his tighty whities. Somehow, I don't think even he wants to go out like that.
Now
yeah.
that's a wrestling moment.
No, he'll just take off his jorts and he'll be wearing his attire that he wore on his debut.
That would actually be strangely poetic. Like, he's been wearing his prototype attire the entire all those years. Like, yeah, I've been wearing my ruthless aggression shorts for the past 20 years.
Goes to Kurt Angle, be like, "See, buddy, I got you."
He'll when he's walking back of the ramp, all of a sudden you just see the giant fist on the screen. It's like just
Oh man,
going off into the sunset.
Well, that would have been too sick. Sorry, John, moment ruined. You missed an opportunity, bud.
call us
Uh,
WWE. Make you
but yeah, the
millions.
whole point I was saying is like yeah, he took the armbands, he took his shoes off, but once again, he's gonna come back. He signed an ambassador deal for 5 years. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, that's another question I heard. Like, oh, why can't they just send the fans home happy? He could have just like passed out or something, and then he could have given a speech after the match or something like that. Like, why didn't they do that? Like, buddy, that's a very easy one. They're not going to give him extra time beyond that when I'm sure he's tired and he wants to just relax and have some private moments with his friends. If you want a really good, heartfelt speech that really just will warm your heart the way you want it to, there's a very simple explanation why you didn't get it then. Because you're going to get that at the Hall of Fame. Because you know, as well as I do, that he's most likely going to go in, now that he's officially retired, he's going to be going into the 2026 Hall of Fame. He's going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I can safely say that because before anyone says, oh, they're not going to let him go in as a headliner over Stephanie McMahon. Yes, they will, because you and I both understand that Who's going to reasonably sell more merch and tickets to the Hall of Fame? Stephanie McMahon or John frickin' Cena? If they say that, hey, the Hall of Fame is going to be in this arena on this day, and John Cena is going in as the lead Hall of Famer, you know that they're going to sell tickets. You know they're going to sell merch. They know they're going to sell about a bajillion John Cena Hall of Fame t-shirts. Like it's too if you're running a company like that and you've got a cash cow like that, there is no way you're going to let that pass by. And then that's when all the fans are going to get their nice long speech that they're going to be craving. And then everyone goes home happy. And then John Cena can leave with his head held high. Fans are happy. Fans are probably going to be crying their butts off. Cena will probably be more than pleased as punch to get his Hall of Fame ring, and everyone goes home happy at the end.
As
Who
long as
inducts
you
him?
Randy Orton.
Randy Orton is probably going to be is probably going to be the pound for pound best pick. Yeah, if I was going to say if Vince was still around, he could probably do it, but there's no way, not anymore.
No, they wouldn't have Vince do it.
Listen,
Absolutely
they
not.
showed Vince for the video package. I mean,
That's all they're going to show.
but no, I'm
This
just
isn't the
saying,
first
like,
time. This isn't the first time they actually showed him in a video package because they had him in a video package when Hulk Hogan passed away. So video packages, I could see them not going any farther than that. In-person appearances, I don't see it happening.
Yeah, I don't see it happening either. But yeah, there's a few people you could look at in the past year who are major opponents of his. The closest other one I could think of is maybe CM Punk, but I don't think he wants to be in that position, frankly. But yeah, I'd say Randy is probably the best pick of anything else I can think of, unless someone else has some major name I'm just not thinking of right now.
Probably Randy, especially since they had him in Saudi Arabia promoting the Rumble during this whole thing. It would be nice if they actually be like, okay, now he
That
can.
does make a lot more sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what my first thing was. They kept saying like Randy Orton's definitely not going to be at John Cena's last thing. And when you think of the quality of John Cena, it was either going to be Randy Orton or Heath Slater. I mean, those are your only two options to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
Obviously, it needs to be Heath Slater because he still needs some kickback from the Nexus beatdown. I mean, come on, he owes the man.
Or it could be our truth. I mean, come on, John Cena was his childhood hero.
Or better yet, clearly it needs to be Zack Ryder. I mean, come on, he was the best breakout star of the Z2 Long Island story. I mean, come on,
Listen, we're
they're
wrong.
synonymous with wrestling history. Come on.
You want to talk about a power couple? I say that Nikki Bella and Tux
Oh
John
my
Cena.
God.
Oh,
Honestly,
brilliant.
I don't think we could top that one, honestly.
Yeah, I
You're
think
welcome.
Pete, you got it. You won the bit. Congratulations. But yeah, in all seriousness, I think we hit all of the major questions, objections, any of that. Unless there's anything else you've seen that I missed. Any other objections to this whole John Cena thing that we haven't talked about yet?
Just for the people who are still whining and complaining about it, grow the fuck up.
I,
That's more of an observation than a question. There's no question about that, but sentiment received.
I think it's absolutely insane that he's been going on like the Joe Rogan podcast. He's been going on Chris's podcast. He's been going on even Cody Rhodes, and he keeps referring. He's like, "I'm done. Like get your closure. Like December 13th was my last wrestling time. I'm gonna wrestle. Like that is it. Like, and he for him to keep going, like, because people are like, well, maybe. He's like, nope. I'm done. I just think it is bananas that people are like, no, he'll be a Royal Rumble entry. And I was like, no, like, you're never going to see the jorts again. It's always going to be Cena in a suit. Like, his in-ring time is done. And it's just, again, at the end of the day, you got to give the man the props for what he's done for the business at the end of the day. And to go out and, like I said, even with that smirk, where it's just like basically like this, I'm like, the weight is lifted off my shoulders, so to speak. It's like Cody's now, this place is in a good place, like you said, Scholar Jeff. This place, WWE, is in a good place. I'm leaving in good hands. I'm still going to be an ambassador. But you know what? I had the run I wanted to do, even though he said he wanted to do more dates, which it was an interesting fact that I was just like, oh, like I did not expect you to be more dates.
But do you remember the reason why he said he didn't do more? The insurance costs.
Oh, the
Because he was
insurance.
involved with acting and other productions. If he was going for like the costs were very, very high if he was going to wrestle on
Yeah, yeah.
while
Oh,
working
100%.
on a project. So that was just sort of the compromise that they had, where John was willing to pony up his own money to do a bunch of dates, but it was limited. That was a part of the deal, which makes sense.
My only last question for you, gentlemen, is just for you guys personally. Uh, at the end of the day, the year that John Cena had, from the Royal Rumble to almost winning the Royal Rumble to ending it with God, is there any match that you would have loved to see John Cena had before his end? Like, did we want to see a Kevin Owens John Cena like one last time? Did we want to see that Edge versus John Cena one last time? Like, if there was a match you could have saw, regardless of promotion, like what would be that match you would want to see one last time from John Cena in 2026 if you had the wish?
I'll be honest, the first and really only name that comes to mind was Joe Hendry. I know I predicted that weeks ago when the last time is now tournament happened, just because I felt like Joe Hendry, again, us being more older wrestling fans, we know the wisdom of putting over as much young talent as you can on the way out. And because a lot of us like Joe Hendry and we see the promise of Joe Hendry and the growth of Joe Hendry, that's why I and so many other people were just like, man, I don't think it's the most realistic option, but I hope he wins the last time is now tournament. Just because we wanted to see him get that rub. And again, obviously, didn't quite work out that way, but I am still very satisfied with what we got. Just sort of playing up to really Joe Hendry's biggest strengths right now. Just giving a funny bit, giving him a moment on John Cena's last show. It may not have been what Joe was shooting for, but it's still a whole lot more than I was originally expecting, and that sure ain't nothing. But yeah, even though that's my only main pick for otherwise, was his final year flawless? No, but really, it we still got a lot, and I think it was about as good as it's ever going to get. Tark, what about you?
When it comes to the retirement tour,
Yeah, we're like Pete was asking, are there any other matches that you didn't get to see from John Cena that you really wanted to?
well, I'll just go out and say that his retirement tour could have been a lot better
Oh yeah,
if
yeah.
if they didn't have the whole Travis Scott and The Rock situation to really like. I guess the best way to describe it is like put a damper on the heel turn and just ruin what could possibly have been what could have come from said heel turn. But overall, if there were anyone that I would want to see John Cena face in his final year, hmm. I mean, let's see. He had the match with Punk. He had the match with Styles.
I think the fact that you're sort of struggling to come up with a really rock solid idea is very telling about the kind of year that John Cena had. Yeah, it obviously wasn't flawless. Yeah, we missed out on a lot of the promise that of what we could have gotten had Travis Scott and The Rock stuck in the mix like we thought they were going to. Or if he just followed through a little bit further with the heel turn, there could have been a bigger payoff in the end. But for what we did get, even though, regardless of whether or not John Cena actually gives us a straight answer regarding what the original plan was with The Rock and Travis Scott, what what he is correct on is that what we did get was very, very solid. It was probably the best thing that they could have done given the circumstances. Like it was as bad as complete as we reasonably could have gotten. We got a whole lot of really good closure matches. So that's of like old rivals versus new big names that could really use the benefit of the rub. He really hit, for the most part, all the major points. So that to the point where when we're asking this question of what else could you would you really want to see, the fact that we're struggling to come up with names is just an indicator of how complete his final run really was, as imperfect as it was. Does that make
I mean,
sense?
like the
I
only real answer to really give was Edge because that it's one of his greatest rivals.
Okay.
But I don't want to basically be another one of those people who's like who are just saying, oh, it should have been Edge and all that. I'm just trying to just be I just like promotions aside. But I just can't look past that because I was every time someone says, "Oh, uh, uh, someone's posts that on the build to main event beforehand, they were just saying, "Oh, imagine Gunther getting taken out backstage," and then all of a sudden you think you know me, and I'm just looking at it with the biggest eye rolls and just thinking, "God, you people are just ridiculously dumb." I don't, and now I would be like, oh, if there was one match, I would be, it'd be Edge. No, I don't. That's just basically be making me a hypocrite in it. At least that's how I would look at it. I'm just
so
like the only other person I could probably think of is just maybe someone like Ziggler,
so
and
for
that because
me, to give you context where my head's at, now I'm not saying it makes sense or anything. I just am saying who we would like to see John Cena face in his final year. I always wanted to see a match between him and Tyler Black, aka Mr. Seth Rollins, because I think that would have been a great little product, a little program, if you would. Like, I think if the R-Truth stuff didn't happen, if you put that little Seth Rollins John Cena feud in there, even for to figure out something, make it work. I think that would have at least for me been a fun match to watch because it also would have been to see Seth Rollins, who we know can work with even a broomstick in the ring. Like that could have been an AJ Styles type of match that doesn't have AJ in it. Like that's the caliber that Seth Rollins brings. That I feel like it could have been instead of a oh yeah, you were fine in the Rumble, you were great in the Elimination Chamber, but man, everybody's talking about that John Cena AJ Styles match. Imagine if they had a John Cena versus Seth Rollins this year, and that would have been my pick for somebody I would have liked to see in 2025
that
for John Cena.
that's a fair one. I actually that's a good choice. I'm just glad they didn't have at any point have John Cena yeet with Jey Uso like after the Rumble or something. I'm very glad we didn't get that. That would have just been like, oh no,
I will say that
John, you're better than that.
even then, that was a very good reaction. Again, even at the beginning of the year, we all thought when it was just two of them, like, okay, Cena's gonna beat Jey Uso, he's gonna throw him out. Oh no, wait, whoa, that was a pleasant surprise. I No one predicted it. It made it very interesting, but even then, as far as just seeing like oh so many like wild out there predictions, like oh hey, like I even just saw a video of some guy saying, "Oh hey, maybe you'll go to AEW now." Like, dude, come on. He's
No,
That's not going to happen.
it, it,
It
you're
is,
embarrassing yourself.
but then that brings up like the biggest question I saw, like why you even say it yourself, Tark, like so many of these arguments are just like the points and things they're bringing up are just so irrelevant to what's actually happening. Like, what are you possibly thinking? And then that's why I realized these aren't logical arguments. For a lot of these arguments are emotional arguments. They're just emotional responses. I even put it on our group chat, like, and I meant it totally serious. This is what it looks like when a fan base is grieving. The fan base is in mourning right now, and they're just like crying out, and they don't know what else to do or think or feel. All they feel is the loss, essentially, from someone who they have known as being a figurehead of wrestling for their entire lives. Like literally, there's a whole lot of wrestling fans today who have not lived in a wrestling fandom without John Cena.
We said it last week. Cena was is some of the adults today, like the young adults. He's their Hogan.
Exactly. But even then, like it seems like there are a certain amount of people who are almost like the trendsetters, the tastemakers, like depending on who you loved growing up, that sort of set the standard for what you saw wrestling to be, or what good wrestling was supposed to look like. Now, as older fans, we've seen enough wrestling to know, like, okay, wrestling isn't just one thing. It's Wrestling can look like over the top bombast. It can be scrappy, dirty, rugged grappling. It could be lucha libre. It could be Japanese strong style. It could be any number of things. It can be comedy. It can be hardcore. It can be so many other things. But it's like in the 80s. The standard was big, jacked up muscle guys. Attitude Era. It was all like edgy anti heroes. In the John Cena era, especially in a single company environment, for an entire generation of wrestling fans, and in a one company setting, especially when John Cena was leading the charge, someone who was easily marketable, popular with kids, is not injured easily, and when he is injured, he recovers freakishly fast. It set an unrealistic standard for the future and for other wrestlers to the point where the unwritten rule of wrestling for the past 20 years was if you're not wrestling the John Cena way, you're not a good professional wrestler, which is absolute BS, as I hope we all know now. Which leads me to my first prediction and my last prediction of the year and my first prediction for 2026. Said before, I'm going to say it publicly once and for all. I predict that 2026 will be the year of the great John Cena detox. A detox from everything that John Cena is, from John Cena's style, and that when John Cena is out of the picture and fans will sort of recalibrate themselves to new ways of enjoying wrestling, where everyone will sort of see like, okay, wrestling doesn't just have to be the John Cena way. There's other ways to be a great professional wrestler without doing things exactly John Cena's way. And to his credit, Cena himself even says this towards the end portion of his most recent interview with Cody Rhodes on the What Do You Want to Talk About podcast. He says towards the end that, yeah, what I do works for me. What you do works for you. You've got your way. What worked for Austin worked for Austin. What works for Rock worked for Rock. I People may not do things the way I do them, but I might not want to do things the way other people have done in the past, the way that Cody does them. And that's fine. I see that as a way of Cena verbally acknowledging everything I'm saying right now and everything we've known to be true for a very long time. Just a matter of those John Cena kids, now John Cena adults, sort of waking up in the absence of John Cena to seeing and eventually not just accepting a world with John Cena, but learning to love a wider wrestling world without John Cena. Seeing that, yeah, they're always going to miss John Cena, and they probably should, but they will find new loves and new passions and new things and to get excited about in the professional wrestling world beyond just the view of John Cena. Did that make sense? And did I say John Cena way too many times?
Oh, you said John Cena a whole bunch of times, but I get what you're saying. Um, I guess the only way, like, when it comes to like certain styles of the WWE type of match, I'm not fully convinced that it's gonna be that different. Just just from the like how I'm trying to think of the right words to say here. Just who the people who are booking these matches have been around for a really long time. And John Cena has his own particular style of match, but it's to work around the WWE formula of how to put on a wrestling match. That aspect is never going to change. And but when it comes to just basically the how it's just like you said, it's there's the type of wrestling that like Austin made his, Rock made his, Triple H made his, Mick Foley made his, Kurt Angle, Jericho, Edge, Randy Orton. They all have their own particular style for the WWE formula. It's just now with John Cena basically being basically being the aspect of this is now more than a one man show. Because that was something I even mentioned last week of my biggest issues with John Cena's career is that the way he was booked creatively was that it was booked on him being the one man show. So hopefully now we get more of the ensemble now that he's gone. We like right now the only real main characters are is now an ensemble piece. You have Punk, it's the WrestleMania poster, as I said earlier. They're the main characters of the WWE show.
And that's the way it ought to be. That's the way we grew up with it in the Attitude Era. That's what made it so exciting and dynamic. That, in
Hmm.
my opinion, that's the way we're gonna see it. That's the way it should be. And I don't think you're right. I don't think it's gonna really happen so much on a production standpoint with WWE. I think this perception, in my view anyway, is going to happen within the fan base and how they perceive how wrestling is supposed to be. Uh, that may not be the most clear way to put it, but I predict you're going to start seeing that in the next maybe 3 to 4 months.
I don't know.
Keep
I'm probably not as going to be as optimistic as you are because again, it's become I look back at just how the tribalism goes when it just looked where there's the WWE style of the wrestling and the AEW style of wrestling and how both styles are just so completely different. And we have those fans that only follow one particular style of wrestling. And that leads to the whole tribalism bullshit that those people are just closed minded. And that's on both sides. There's just some who are more wanting of the more wrestling in the professional wrestling show, and then there's the people who are on the WWE side where it's more sports entertainment, it's more the entrance and the show uh, than is the wrestling. So, and then there's the group in the middle, which I think for people like us that can look at these different styles and try to hope to see the good in either of them and how well they tell the stories that they're wanting to be told or how they want to tell them. But yeah, it's just I don't think the fans won't be as open-minded because of that whole tribalism BS. But I don't think the at least in this case for WWE's sake, I don't think they're going to be like basically give them that option to be as open-minded.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot of factors that are going to go into what we're going to be seeing over the next several months of the next year. Uh, Pete, any closing thoughts on any of this before we wrap up shop? What are we going to see?
So my thought with how this whole thing with John Cena goes is it's like he said with the Cody Rhodes interview that was released as of recorded, like that he's basically saying, what's the word I'm looking for? Just that everybody's going to forget about him, which I feel in 2026 with the AJ Styles retiring, you don't think that's going to make everybody go, yeah, John Cena. But man, what a time AJ was. You still to this day gets talked about the unbreakable match between him, Daniels, and Samoa Joe. You know, it's just, and then you have Brock Lesnar, and Brock Lesnar in the just beast, truly the beast that he was, and to see that man retire. It's I've seen so many photos, so many things of being like my childhood, and it's everybody grayed out, and you only see like Orton and Brock Lesnar left from OVW, you know, from back in
Mhm.
those days, if you know what I'm talking about. Like
Poor
it's
Shelton.
just it's just something where it's a changing and we're just seeing them go. So yeah, John Cena, you know, the GOAT, Mr. 17 time, but you're also looking at the phenomenal AJ Styles next year. You're looking at the Beast, all finally hanging up their boots where we're going to come back here, Scholar fans, and have this conversation about the great matches that AJ had. And, you know, starting off with probably Gunther, where it looks like we're going, you know, to have that great, to start telling these new stories into 2026 where John Cena, like I said, it was that smile, the tap out. Him, I said it earlier in the show, it's him letting go. It's him saying, WWE, it is now like, I'm here for you, but give me a show. And with AJ, like I said, Brock, and who else knows who's around the corner? Chris Jericho could resign. You never, and he could be. It's just so many different people that I feel like this year with John Cena, what a ride it was. But now WWE, what do you got?
And that's a great question to end it on. Really, what does WWE have now? Uh, if whatever you think, the floor is yours. Our fellow to our fellow wrestling fans, leave us comments, join in the conversation yourself. And most of all, we thank you all for listening and giving us a shot, especially if you're a really heartbroken Cena fan right now. You're just thinking like, how could you possibly think any of this was a good idea? What the hell is going on? Maybe you even clicked on this video right now or conversation just to think like, okay, even if you're still have not changed your mind on any of this, even if you're just clicking on this to be like, just because you've got the faintest amount of curiosity about what the other side is thinking, and you want to just like get some reasonable, unemotional explanations for how this could possibly be a good idea, and you turn to us, sincerely, we all thank you for keeping an open mind. Because really, you're the kind of wrestling fan that we are and we love the most. The ones that are just open, the good conversation, good speculation, good prediction, because we know that wrestling fans like you love it just as much as we do, if not arguably more. That's another conversation for another time. But for right now, we thank you for listening and we invite you to join the conversation. Comment areas, YouTube comments, Facebook posts, all the places that we can be found. We want to hear from you. And for all of the relevant social media links and much, much more, just check us out at our link tree in the description box below. That's linktree/Scholars of Wrestling for more Scholars of Wrestling discussion. Goodness. Gentlemen, anything more to add before we sign off for the evening?
I
Oh no,
just
I'm
hope
done. I'm ready to lay down and
You're
actually
ready
call
to smile, give it a little smile and
I'm
tap.
re yeah, pretty much.
How about you, Scholar Pete?
I'm just, I just can't stop but plead the Scholar fan base to just let Scholar Charlie know the travesty he has done to my neck and to tune in next week to watch his reaction, which I
Just to see how
guarantee will be
confused he'll be.
priceless.
He will be so confused. Like, what?
Oh, we'll be reconvening, I'm sure, very, very soon. But until we do, everyone, have a safe and happy Christmas, happy holidays, whatever you're going to be celebrating over the next week until we meet again. And we will be meeting again, because you know who we are. We are the Scholars of Wrestling, and you have just been schooled. You're
You're
welcome.
Oh,
welcome.
See you all on the flip side.
All hail the ring general.
lip sad. What? What?